Hey guys, it's the Bougie Nurse and welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the different routes you can take to become a nurse. So if you're interested in nursing and you want to know what steps to become a nurse, this is going to be the perfect video for you. So let's get into the video. So there are two types of nurses. You have your LPN, which is the licensed practical nurse, and you have your RN, which is a registered nurse. The LPN is considered the entry level of nursing. So this is the first step you can take in becoming a nurse. You do not have to go the LPN route, but many people choose to go the LPN route because it is faster. The LPN program typically takes about 9 months to a year, and once you graduate, you take your NCLEX exam, which is the nursing licensing exam. You can begin your career as a nurse and start practicing as a nurse. Now, the LPN can pretty much do a lot of the things RNs do, but they do have some limitations, and depending on your state and the scope of practice, that can vary tremendously. So the LPN is able to provide basic nursing care. They can administer oral medication, they can do feedings, do the G-tube and the NG tube, they can collect specimen, urine specimen, blood specimens, they can do wound care, dressing changes, but the issue with the LPN is that they are being supervised by the RN. So they're not able to do administration of blood products. They're not able to do the initial assessment of the patient. Where I work, LPNs are not able to do assessment at all. They're not able to document on the patient. When I was in nursing school, the LPN was able to do the reassessment and to do the documentation after the nurse did their initial assessment. So it all depends on the state you live in and the facility you're working at on what the LPN can and cannot do. I also learned in nursing school that the LPN is not able to give IV push medications, and they're not able to insert IVs. So definitely do your research on what the LPN can do in your state if that is something that is of interest to you. The main problem with going the LPN route is that many hospitals are now weeding out the LPN from the hospital completely. So it is very difficult to get a job as an LPN in the hospital system. 9 times out of 10, the LPNs that are already in the hospital, already working in the hospital, they've been there since like 2009, 2010. So they've been there a while. But as far as hiring new grad LPNs into the hospital, that's very rare. So LPNs do generally get paid less than RNs, and that's because the RN training is longer and more extensive, and the RN can do everything the LPN does and more. I never went the LPN route, I went the RN route, but if you're looking for something quick, not easy, but something to just get your foot in the door and hit the ground running and start your nursing career within a year, the LPN route is the way to go. Alright, so RN, the registered nurse. The RN can pretty much do everything the LPN can do and more. And everything I mentioned that the LPN cannot do, the RN can do. So administering blood products, doing the assessment, administering IV fluids and IV push medication, teaching the family, teaching the patient. These are things that the RN can do that, depending on what state you live in, the LPN cannot do. Collaborating with the physician, collaborating with the NP. If the patient has a major issue, the LPN now has to go report that to the RN, because like I said earlier, the RN is supervising the LPN. So if the patient says they have a pain that is unbearable, 10 out of 10, and they require morphine, the LPN will now have to go to the RN and say, hey, this is the issue that's going on with the patient, and the RN will now administer the IV push medication. Whereas if a patient is having an issue and the RN is the primary nurse and they report that to the RN does not have to go now report it to another nurse. They can report it to the physician or the NP and resolve the issue. Look up in your area what the LPN can and cannot do, because like I said, and I'm going to keep repeating it because I know someone is going to come and say, I'm an LPN in the state of Minnesota and I'm able to do all the things that you said I couldn't do. So please, please look up what LPN can and cannot do in your state, because it varies tremendously state by state. So within the RN field, you have two types of nurses. You have your associate's degree nurse and you have your bachelor's degree nurse. So the associate's degree takes about 2 years to obtain, while the bachelor's degree takes about 4 years to obtain. And there's really no difference between the two nurses. The only difference between the ASN, Associates of Science in Nursing, and the BSN, Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, is what they're teaching you during that course of school. So with the associate's degree, you're learning more about the clinical tasks, direct patient care, hands-on patient care. So administering your medication, inserting your Foleys, inserting your IVs, looking up labs, learning about the signs and symptoms and disease processes. While the bachelor's degree program, you're taking it a step higher. You're going to be learning more about management roles and delegation and administration and leadership. That is really the main difference between the associate's degree and the bachelor's degree in nursing. Now, with the bachelor's degree, you do get paid more because hospitals prefer bachelor degree nurses. It just makes them look better. People have this misconception that a bachelor's prepared nurse is better than an associate prepared nurse, which is completely false, because let me tell you now, you have nurses in the hospital who have their associate's degree, who's been working there 10, 20 plus years, and then you have this new grad nurse who has her bachelor's, but she doesn't know a thing, and she's learning from the associate's degree nurse. So that whole misconception that the bachelor's degree nurse is better than the associate's degree nurse is completely and absolutely false. The issue with the associate's degree nurse is that depending on where you live, it can be difficult to get a hospital job. Now, when I got my associate's degree in 2016, it was very difficult for me to get a hospital job. I swear I was applying everywhere, every day, all over the place. I didn't care if it was a 2-hour drive from my house. I was gonna go because I really wanted to work in a hospital in New York. I did work in an outpatient ambulatory care clinic for about 1.5 years. And while I was doing that, I was working on my bachelor's. And once I completed my bachelor's, I got accepted to a hospital and I started working in a hospital. So the pros of having a bachelor's degree as a nurse is you have more flexibility when it comes to the job market. You're gonna be first in line to get hired as opposed to the associate's degree nurse or the LPN. But if there's an associate's degree nurse that has 3+ years of experience in the same field you're applying for and you're a new grad nurse, they are going to take that associate's degree nurse over you because she has experience. Even with travel nursing, I've spoken with some agencies and they actually have hospitals who want the travel nurse and the agency nurse to have a bachelor's degree. So if you're able to commit to the 4 years and get your bachelor's degree, that is the best route to go. But if you're not able to get your bachelor's degree and you can only start with the LPN route, do not feel bad. Because at the end of the day, it's a stepping stone, and a lot of LPNs become great RNs in the future if that's something you want to do. There are LPNs who like the LPN role and don't want to go back to school. At the end of the day, it all depends on you. What is the best course of action for you to do? Assess your living situation, assess your finances, assess your time. Are you gonna go part-time? Are you gonna go full-time? Do you still have to work? You know, do you have kids? You have to help your children with their homework. Do you have a husband? You still have to cook and clean and upkeep the household. And go to school is a lot. So take all that into consideration and do what is the best route for you. There is no best route when it comes to nursing. It's what's going to work for you and your life and your situation. When I was starting out in the nursing program, I wanted to do the bachelor's degree program, and then I got waitlisted. I didn't want to wait 2 years, so I went and did the associate's degree program, and I was able to find a job. No, it wasn't the hospital, but I still was able to make a decent income and a decent living. So don't feel bad or don't feel pressured to go to the BSN route. No, you can do whatever route you want to do. I know nurses who started off as LPN, worked their way up, went to RN, worked their way up, went to NP, and that is what worked for them. So don't feel discouraged. No matter what route you take, you will still find a job because you're a nurse, and nursing is an amazing field to be in. It has its ups and downs, but you will never be out of a job as a nurse. So whether you do LPN, ASN, or your BSN, you'll always find a job. You may not like your first job, you may love your first job. There's so many different types of jobs out there for nurses. No matter what type of nurse you are, you're always going to be able to find a job. If the goal is to be a nurse, it doesn't matter where you start off as a nurse, because LPNs are nurses, RNs are nurses. They're pretty much the same thing. I know some people's gonna hate that I said that, but it's the truth. The state is what puts its rules and regulations in place. But as an LPN, you're a nurse. As an RN, you're a nurse. Alright, you guys, so that pretty much concludes the video. I hope you learned something. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.